What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the Heaven documentary that dropped just a couple of days ago on Sunday. Now, I thought this was really, really well done, and when I first heard about it announced a few weeks ago, I thought it was really cool because it's one of the first, if not the only documentary on the network that has nothing to do with WWE. It's actually about a female amateur wrestler in high school, senior right now. She was in middle school, high school when they filmed this, but she's a senior now. It has nothing to do with WWE, for the most part. She does quickly make a mention of how she grew up a wrestling fan. I don't know if she watches now, but she watched wrestling at one point. I'm not sure if that's what inspired her to join wrestling or what. They kind of made it seem like that was the case, although I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. This dropped on the network. They dropped it on their YouTube channel, so if you don't have the network, you can watch it there for free. It's only around 22 minutes, and it was really, really good. And Stephanie McMahon actually opened the documentary saying that they plan on doing more non-WWE documentaries for their network and for Peacock, which is where they're going in a couple weeks. They're using their platform to tell more stories that aren't just wrestling related. And again, this is wrestling related, but it's not WWE related. So I thought that was really, really cool. And WWE's, documentary team is second to none. They're one of the best in the world. How many times have I said that? With everything they do, from The Day Of to Untold to The 24, The Chronicles, their documentary team is phenomenal. So it's really cool to see they're branching out and doing more non-WWE stuff, because that could really get behind them doing more documentaries like this one. I thought this was really, really well done. Beth Phoenix narrated, which was fitting, because not only did she do wrestling in high school and I think in college, I'm not exactly sure, although I'm pretty sure they're going to cover that in her upcoming Icons documentary in a couple weeks or months or whatever. So anyway, she narrates because it's not only fitting for that reason, but also because she lives in North Carolina. I don't know if she lives in Asheboro, which is where this takes place, but she lives in North Carolina, so I'm sure she's heard of Heaven before. I don't know if she was the one who pitched to do the documentary, but I thought she did a great job as the narrator. So they talk about how Heaven, that's her name, likes to cook, and she's very well-rounded and shy, but she never wanted her gender to matter, whatever success she was going to have and whatever she did. And I guess the Heaven name came from the fact that she has 3 older brothers, and her parents, I guess the dad specifically wanted a girl. And he said, we're going to have a 4th kid. If it's a girl, we'll name her Heaven, because he always really wanted a girl, and he never got one before she was born. And if it's a boy, we'll name him Hell. So I don't think they would have actually called him Hell if they had another boy, but I thought that was a cool story. So that's actually where she got the name from. But speaking of the dad, he talks about how she was born in March of 2003, March 1st to be exact. So she actually just celebrated what would she have turned, 18th birthday, which is cool, so happy birthday to her. She has 3 other brothers, as I mentioned. Her great-grandparents were Olympians, so the athleticism kind of runs in the family. She's always played baseball, and then she played soccer at one point. She grew up watching WWE. At one point, I don't know if she was a lifelong fan. They only discussed it for a very brief moment, how the brothers watched it, and they pretended to wrestle. She had her own name. So her brothers started to do wrestling, like actual amateur wrestling in school, and she wanted to do it too. And she was, I don't know at exactly what age she started, but she was really small, so probably in elementary school, if not early middle school. And her father was very much against it initially, not because, oh, you're a girl, you can't do that type of stuff, but because it was an all-male sport, for one thing, but not because of like any sexist reasons, but because he didn't want her getting hurt. It's a very physical sport, is wrestling, and he didn't want her getting hurt because I'm sure the brothers had been hurt before and he had seen injuries and stuff, but she gave it a try, and she was a natural at it, and she stuck with it, which was cool, and the dad gave his full permission for her to do it. And the guys didn't go easy on her because they didn't want to get beaten by a girl, especially at that age. They're very, immature and stuff like that, so I get it. But that made her better in that they didn't just let her win for any real reason. They gave it to her, and she gave it right back to him, and she beat a lot of them. She would spar with her brother a lot in an attempt to get better because he would give it to her more than anyone else would. And it was all in an attempt to make her improve and to get her better, which was cool, and it worked. So we hear from the athletic commissioner who lives in North Carolina, the athletic commissioner. I don't know if it's of Asheboro or of North Carolina in general, but she talked about how the girls would always have to try out for the boys' teams because they never had a girl wrestling team. There weren't enough girls that wanted to do it to justify having one. So if the girls wanted to do it, they would have to try out for the boys' teams. And some of the coaches would be against it, but saying, hey, unless you want a lawsuit on your hands, you're going to have to let them try out. Because that's if they want to do it, you're going to let them do it. So Heaven mentions how she would do her matches and she could hear parents talking about her, like, oh, why is the girl doing it, blah, 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 over on the sidelines. And it would bother her, but it would also motivate her to do that much better and to beat that person's kid. You know what I mean? So she actually went undefeated in 8th grade. She almost qualified for states in high school her freshman year. She went 55-8 as a sophomore in high school. She ended up joining states or making it to states, taking 4th, and in the process becoming the first female to ever place in the state tournament in North Carolina. And they show her looking at all of her old medals, first, second, and third for all these various tournaments, and how one of her struggles was focusing on heavy strength training, just with there was definitely a difference there in strength for most males against most females. So she was kind of at a disadvantage in that respect, so she had to really focus in on that heavy strength training. And sometimes, because the expectations for her were so high and doing so well and being as good as she was, she couldn't sleep sometimes. She still can't. She's stressed out, really wants to do her parents and family and friends proud by living up to these very high expectations. They talked about how she scored 100 wins on the varsity team, which is crazy, maybe the first person to do it. She ended up making it to the state finals as a junior in February of 2020. And usually after the parents see their kid get eliminated, they just leave. But people stayed to see her perform. It was at the Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina, which is a very famous arena for a lot of wrestling events, like professional wrestling events that have happened there over the years. So it was really cool to see that the state finals took place there. And this was all before COVID, so they just got it in just the nick of time. But yeah, she was in control of most of the match, and based on how she was talking about it, I thought she was going to say, oh, I slipped up and I lost, but no, she ended up winning the whole thing. The crowd was chanting her name before she won, and then she celebrated with her brother by jumping into his arms, which I thought was really, really cool. And the dad even said, I always doubted her getting into it and all this other stuff. I doubted her each and every time early on, and then every single time she would prove me wrong. And at one point, he just turned to his wife and said, I will never doubt her again, which is great to say. She became the first female to win a state's title in high school at the age of 16 in the state of North Carolina. And then she says that it's crazy to think that people think of her as an inspiration, and that's a big moment for women in sports, especially winning, titles and tournaments and stuff like that in what is typically a guy's game. And with wrestling, amateur wrestling, it's typically a guy's sport. And she's making history for women, which is awesome. And they close out it with a couple of different graphics here saying that she's only, and I was wondering this while I was watching it, because they said that she was the first girl in the state of North Carolina to make the states and then win the states and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, is she, because they said in North Carolina, so then I'm thinking, how often has this happened, like where a female has won a state's wrestling high school title in the country? So I guess she's only one of 7 girls to do that, which was really cool that they acknowledged that. And I guess her senior season starts in April, so it's coming up pretty soon, so it's cool they got this out before then. And she wants to be the first one to do it twice. No other female has done it twice, and she wants to be the first one to do it twice in her senior year. So again, I thought this was a really, really good documentary, short, sweet, straight to the point. I thought it was a great story, and again, I love Again, it's wrestling related, but not WWE related. I love stuff like this because it's done by the WWE production department. So that documentary department. So it's going to be the same quality as all these other documentaries. And I'll get to the Goldberg one in a couple days. It's going to be the same quality, but it's not going to be the same like typical WWE stuff. You know what I mean? So I thought it was really cool. And again, if you don't have the WWE Network, you can watch it right now on their YouTube channel. It should still be available from Sunday. It's called Heaven. It was a really good documentary, and I'm looking forward to them doing more of this type of stuff in the future as they enter the Peacock era in a couple of weeks. So check this out right now on the network and on the YouTube channel, their YouTube channel. And thank you guys for checking out this review. I appreciate it. So be sure to like it, drop a comment, share the video, subscribe to the channel for more daily content, sometimes 2 videos a day, usually 2 videos a day, between all these reviews and Q&A videos and interviews and stuff like that. I appreciate you guys checking out all the videos I put out here on the channel. Have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.